Hello and welcome back to another video. So we're going to stick with the calculator theme, which we seem to have been using for the last couple of weeks. I'm still on the back end of recovering from COVID, so I'm going to sound like this for a little bit, but we'll get there. So we're going to create a calculator, but this time we're going to use HTML, CSS and JavaScript. So first of all, we'll need to create the structure of the calculator using HTML. So we will need to create a container for the calculator, which would hold all of the buttons and the display. Then we would need to create the display itself, which would show the numbers and operations that the user enters. And finally, we would need to create the buttons for the various operations, such as addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. So once we've worked with the HTML, we need to move on to the CSS, and we need to style the calculator. So we would need to create a style for the container, the display and the buttons, and also create styles for the various states of the button, such as when they're hovered over or when they are clicked. And then finally, once we've dealt with the look of the program, we'll deal with the functionality, and we're going to use JavaScript to do this. So we'll need to create event listeners for each of the buttons, which would trigger the appropriate operation when clicked. Then we would need to create functions to perform the various operations, such as addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. And then finally, we would need to create a function to update the display with the result of the operation. Now, we're going to start with the HTML code. So before we do any of that stuff, I've just created a new folder on my desktop. Desktop called HTML calculator. And then in here, I'm going to create a new file. And I'm just going to call it a new file, just a general file. And I'm going to save it inside there. HTML calculator. I'm going to call it calculator.html. Okay, like that. My chair is very squeaky. I don't think it's coming through on the microphone though. And then let's create the rest of them while we're here. So that's now appearing there. Let's do file, new file. Let's do this one, and we will save this one as styles.css. And then we'll do another one for JavaScript. Let's create a new one, not save as, new file. I'm going to save it as script.js. There we go. So I'm going to close these for a second because we don't need them just yet. So the first thing we need to do is we need to actually tell this that we're using HTML. So data list doc type, like that. Oops. Came up then, now it's not. Doc. Start again. There we go. Doc type HTML. Then we're going to have head. Then we're going to have title. And then we're going to have body. And then we're going to end the HTML like that. So, title, I'm going to put calculator app like that. And then body, I'm going to hold off for a second. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add in the a link, so create the link to add in reference to our JavaScript file and our style file. So let's start with the CSS file. So link rel equals, not in capitals every time, it probably would still work, but rel equals, and then I want style sheet, and then type is going to be text inside there /CSS, and then the href is going to be equals to, and then it's going to be style .css like that. And then I'm going to close it off like that. And then the next thing we'll do is we'll do the script one. So this one is script like that, and then it's src equals, and it's going to be script.js like that. And I'm just going to double check. Yep, so it opens up the right one, and I'll do the same with this one. Yep, opens up the correct one. So I'm happy with that now. So let's create what it's going to look like, the structure of it. So we're going to go into the body, and I'm going to create a new div, and this one's going to be called calculator. Calculator, like that. ID equal, that'll be better. And then I'm going to close that one, and I'm going to keep that open for a second, and then I'm going to do div ID equals display. This is going to be where we display the numbers that we enter, and I'm going to close off that one already, like that. And then I'm going to create one button, and then we're going to copy and paste them. So button class equals number. It does this every time and it annoys me. Number, like that. And then we'll close it off, and that's going to be number 1. And then we're going to end the button, which is there. So then I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to copy this. So we've done 1, 2, 3, like that. And then I'm going to do it again, but this time the class is going to change to operation, and it's going to have the plus symbol. Like that. And then I'm going to do it again for 4, 5, and 6. And then we're going to do the operation again, and this time we're going to have the minus. Like that. And then we're going to do the same again for 7, 7, 8, 9. And then after the 9, we are going to have the multiply. It's going to be operation. And then after the multiply, we're going to have 0. So it's going to stay a number. And then after the 0, we're going to have the divide. So it's going to become operation. And then after the divide, we are going to have a new one this time. So I'm going to do button ID equals clear. And I'm going to set it to be big C, like that. And then I'm going to have the equals button, which is going to have its own class again. Like that. And I'm going to set that to be the equal sign. And then that's it. That's pretty much that done. So if we save it, and we go into our folder and open up the calculator app, it looks a little bit like this. So we have all those buttons, we've got as equal signs, calculators. How it's going to look is that's going to come down here, that's going to be under there eventually. But it doesn't look very good at the moment. It doesn't look like a calculator. It just has buttons. So let's push this up to one side for a minute. And then, so the next thing we need to do is start with the CSS to make it look like it's working. So actually I haven't explained the calculator yet, right? So we've got the div element, which is the ID calculator. So that's this section here. So this element contains all of the elements of our calculator user interface. So the div element has the ID of display. So that will display the current calculation or result. Then we have 16 button elements with either class number or classes operation. The number buttons display digits from 0 to 9, and the operation buttons display the 4 basic arithmetic operations like plus, minus, multiply, and divide. And then we've got 2 button elements with the ID of clear and equals. So the clear button will clear the display, and the equals button will calculate the result. So let's have a look then. So we've got the hits, we're onto the CSS again. So we are going to basically style how this looks. So I will do all the CSS first. Oh, I don't know what that was. If that was loud, I apologise. I will do all the CSS first, and then we will have a look at explaining what it does. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to grab everything to do with the calculator. And in here, we are going to set a width. So I want a width of 300 px. I then want a height of 400 px. And I'm going to set a border. So I want a border. I want it to be 1 pixel. I want it to be solid, and I want it to be black. I want some padding. I want 10 px. And then I want to display grid. Display grid like that. And then I want to do the grid template. So I want the columns to repeat. And I want them to repeat every 4 times. And then I want a grid gap of 5 px. And then we click save, and we'll just double check if this is working. See if it's working. Perfect. So I've hit refresh button. I've not reloaded it or anything. I've literally just hit the refresh button. So now all of my buttons are kind of in a row. They look a little bit more like a calculator. We're not there yet, but it's starting to look a little bit different. So then let's work on the display. So I want the display, taking everything from the display, I want it to have a grid column of 1, and I want it to span over 4. I want it to have a height of 50. I want it to have a solid border. So border 1 px. I want it to be solid, and I want it to be black. I want it to display flex, display flex. And I want to justify the content to be flex end. Then I want to align item center. And I want to give it a bit of padding of 10 px. And I'm going to set the font size to 24 px, like that. And then let's have another look again, see what happens. There we go. So we now have our entry bit at the top. So this is where the data is going to be displayed. Okay. So let's now work on the buttons. So we set some buttons. I want to set the height and the font of these. So I'm going to have a height of 50 px. I'm going to set the font to 24. Then I'm going to set the border to none. I'm going to set the outline to none, and I'm going to fix my spelling mistake. Then I'm going to set the background colour. Let's play with this. Let's see what this is. Yeah, we'll go with that. I've spelled colour wrong. There we go. And then I'm going to set the cursor to a pointer. Like that. Cursor even. Yep. And then let's deal with the button hover. So if I save this, not much is actually going to happen right now. It's going to open it up. Just taking the borders off really, and just change the colours a little bit. But if we play around with it a little bit, we can do button hover like that. That means I can change the background colour to, let's do, let's be a little bit more enthusiastic. Let's look for a colour. So let me bring up that again. Let's do text colour codes. Let's pick a colour. Oh, maybe I didn't click. There we go. Let's go some pink. Something like that. Let's copy that. Paste that in there. There we go. And then we'll actually test that and save that, because we might choose to change the colour. I quite like that. I quite like that. We might change it later. And then let's do button active. So button.active, and we're going to change the background colour. Let's do this one to E. No, let's do this one to CCC and see what that looks like. It's kind of a grey colour. Let's pick his own. Make his own colour. There we go. Let's go for a lighter pink. Everything's going to be pink in mine. There we go. Happy with that? Let's double check it. Yep, the active won't work just yet. And then let's do the dot numbers. So these are the buttons that have a ID of number. So we're going to change the grid column, and we're going to set it to a span of 1. And then we're going to choose the ones that have got operation. I'm going to do the same, but we're going to change the grid column to 1. And then we're going to set the background colour to, let's see what this one is. OAD or E. Yeah, I can handle that. It goes with pink, right? Colour of the font is going to be white, like that. And then we've just got to handle the clear button. So hashtag clear. And we're going to pretty much do similar to this. I'm going to copy this. And then I'm just going to double check. So clear, let's make clear span 2 rather than 1. It's a little bit bigger. Let's change this colour. Let's do... see what that looks like. It might not work with our colour scheme, so we might end up changing it anyway. So that's the clear. The equals is going to be very similar. So let's do dot equals. Oops. And I'm going to paste that in again because we're going to change the span to. The colour I'll come back to. Actually, the colour is 5CB85. But we might change that. Yeah, we're going to change that. And then colour white, fine. Right, so let's see what it looks like before we actually start changing these colours around. That doesn't look too bad actually. I'm not sure on this hover now. I might change the hover. Change the hover to a different colour. I might change it to that light pink. Go for that for the hover. There we go. Save it. See what it looks like. It's better. Yeah, we'll go with that. So now we've got what it looks like. Let's have a look at what it all means. So the hashtag calculator element has fixed width and height. It's got a border and it's got a grid layout with 4 columns and a grid gap. This is what actually makes the buttons move around a little bit, so it looks more like a calculator. The display element spans all 4 columns and it has a fixed height and a border, and the text aligned to the right. The all buttons element have got a fixed height. It's got a font size, it's got no border or outline. They've also got a background colour. It's also got a pointer cursor. And when a button is hovered over, its background colour changes so that we can see that that button is actually being hovered over. And then when a button is clicked, the background colour changes again for a 3rd time. And then the number buttons span 1 grid column, but the operation buttons span 1 grid column as well. But they have a different colour and a different foreground colour. It's a different text colour. The clear button spans 2 grid columns and has a red background colour and a white text colour. The equals button spans 2 grid columns, and again it has a background colour and a text colour. Now I can't remember what the text colour was. Let me just have a look. Oops, over there. The equals. I just wonder. Have a look at the equals. The background colour was supposed to be that green, so why did it change? Maybe I've spelled something wrong. Equals, let me just copy that, sometimes I spell things wrong. Looks the same to me. Background colour. Yeah. Why would the rest of them not that? Still not liking that pink, you know. If we can try it with that. Still not understanding why. I've saved it. That's better. Still not sure about that. We'll come back to it. I know why. It's not a dot, it's an hashtag. That'd be why. Div ID in class. Different. I'll test it. There we go. Now it works. There's no rollover on that one though, for some reason. There's no rollover on the clear either, so that's okay. So, let's have a look next at the JavaScript. So, let's type it first, and then we will get to it, explaining it. So, first of all, I'm going to put a comment, and I'm going to put get the calculator element and display element. So we're going to do const cal. We're creating variables. So const calculator, and then we're going to set that to equals document dot get element by ID, and we're going to ask it to get it by the name of calculator. There we go. And I'm going to break that one off, and then I'm going to copy this, paste it underneath, and this time we're going to get display, and we're going to get it by using display, which is the names that we put in here. So you've got display and you've got calculator. Then we're going to add event listeners for all the number buttons. So again, we're going to do const number button, select, and I'm going to do all on the end of that. Query select all, and we're going to grab everything that has a class of dot number. And then we're going to say number buttons dot for each button. I want you to do this to it. I want you to do button dot add event listener, and I want you to listen for an event called click, and then we're going to do a comma, display dot text content, and I want you to do that for the button dot text content, like that, and then close that off. Looking to check things make sense. Yep. And then comma there, like that, and then like that. Save it. We're all good so far. And then we're going to add event listeners for all the operation button. Now we can just copy that, and this time it's going to be operation buttons equals document.query select all, and this time it's going to be operation, and we're going to say operation buttons dot for each button dot add event listener click display dot context, and then in here we're just going to have a pair of speech marks, then we're going to do plus like that, and I just got this way the wrong way around. It is plus equals like that. Oh, I had it the right way around, it just looks the wrong way for a second. And then on the end of here we're going to have plus and then a set of speech marks again. Then we've closed them all off, perfect. And then we need to do add event listeners for the clear button. So again, we're going to do the same thing. So this time const clear button document.get oh no, we're going to change it this way. I'll do it again. Const clear button equals document dot get element by ID, and we're going to get the equals this time, and then we're going to do equals button, so I'm going to do equals button dot add event listener. Did I close it off correctly? Yep, and then I'm going to do click const expression equals display dot text content. Then we're going to do try const result, the const result, and then we are going to do equals eval expression like that, and then we are going to do display dot text content equals result, and then we're going to catch the error, and we are going to say display dot text content, and we're going to say equals error, and close that, close that, close that, like that, save it. So what's happening then? So we are going to get the calculator and display elements using their IDs. We are going to get the number buttons using the query select all method and loop through them using a for each method, so that we can keep adding to the click listener to each button. So when the number button is clicked, we're going to append that value to the display using the text content property. We're going to get all the operation buttons using the query select all method, and then loop through using the for each method to add a click event listener to each button. When an operation button is clicked, we are going to append a space, the operation symbol, and then another space to display using the content text content property, which is this bit here. When the clear button is used, we're going to use the ID attribute, and we're going to add a click event listener to it. So when we click on the clear button, we are going to set the text content of the display to an empty string. And then when the equals button is clicked, so this one here, I don't think I've done this clear. I think I might have missed clear out. Yeah, I think I missed clear out. I'll go straight to equals. I'll come back to clear. So when the equals button is clicked, we're going to get the current expression from the display using the text content property. And then we're going to use the eval method to evaluate the expression and calculate the result. If the expression is not valid, we're going to catch the error and set the text content of the display to error. Otherwise, we are going to set the text content of the display to the calculated result. Now, I haven't done the clear, so let's go back and do the clear. So I'll just put a comment. Equals button, and then above we will do the clear. So we're going to do const clear button equals document dot get element by ID, clear. So I've done this the other way around, equals like that. Let me I'll check that in a second. Remind me, I need to check that. So now we've done this, we are going to do the clear button dot add event listener, and we want it on the click, and then we're going to do like that, and we're going to display dot text content as being nothing, like that, and then we're going to close that off, and then we're going to close that off like that. Now let me check I've got this equals one right. So equals button, so const, this one needs to be equals button dot get element by ID equals button dot add event listener, click, equals button dot add event listener dot click, const expression. Yeah, that's what I've done it that way. So let's save it and let's try running it and see if it works. 3 plus 6 equals, right, no. So I wonder if we've put our script in incorrectly. Let me just double check. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this, place it just after the div there, click save, and see if that works. Yeah. Right, so we've got a problem with the equals button, so let's double check the equals button. So first of all, let me just double check that I've called it the right thing. Equals, yeah, equals. Okay, so that's the correct thing. So let me just check. So equals button dot add event listener, yeah, click, perfect, const expression equals display dot text content. Okay, that's correct. Try const result equals eval expression, display dot text const content equals result, catch error, did display dot text content equals error, and I've forgotten to close that off there. That could be the problem. Let's try again. Nope, still not the problem. Let's have another look. Okay. Let me just copy this and paste it back in and save it, and then try, because sometimes I find that works. 2 plus 3 equals 5. Perfect, that worked. Cancel works. Let's do 3 minus 6 minus 3. Cancel again. 5 times 9 equals, perfect. 3 divided by 1 equals, perfect. Now let's try the divided by 0. Infinity, but we can still use it. What about infinity again? What about 9 times 6 divided by 5? Perfect. So that is a calculator using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. Congratulations and happy coding.